friends. My name is Linda Resch, and I am an artist. I also work as a teaching artist through the North Dakota Council on the Arts, bringing art lessons to elementary, middle, and high school students throughout North Dakota. I work with the South Dakota Arts Council, conducting teaching residencies throughout my home state as well. And for the last 4 years, I've been based in Jamestown, North Dakota, working as a teaching artist through the Art Center. When I'm not teaching, I'm usually painting, mainly in watercolor or acrylic paint. In most of my paintings, the subject matter is pretty recognizable, but I love using bold, bright colors that are oftentimes unnatural to the subject matter, like a blue horse or seafoam green highlights on a red and yellow giraffe. I tend to paint a lot of animals and landscapes, and in the summer months when I'm traveling, I can't wait to take my paints outside. Most of the paintings that you see around me took several hours, days, or even years to complete. But when I'm painting outdoors from life, I need to work much faster. In this sketch of the Stutsman County Fair here in Jamestown, I had to work very quickly to catch the look of the dragon wagon as it rounded the turns, and even faster to catch the casual poses of fairgoers gathered to chat. Even though these people were standing still, they still shifted weight from one foot to another, moved their hands and arms about, and changed the direction that they were facing pretty frequently. People tend to change positions about every 6 seconds, and sometimes it's only a slight shift, but any movement at all changes a person's pose and potentially disrupts an artist's chance of capturing an accurate look in the sketch. What other careers can you think of that might rely on creating detailed or loose sketches pretty quickly? A courtroom sketch artist comes to my mind. Photography is not allowed in a courtroom, so a sketch artist is often brought in to sketch out the moments that are happening in the trial to share with the media. A sketch artist tries to capture the look and the feel of important moments in the trial and the mood of the day. Their sketches have to be quick but fairly accurate, even though they sometimes look a little bit cartoony or like illustrations from a children's book. Police also use sketch artists to create visuals of suspects that might be wanted for crimes. Can you think of anyone else who might need to use this skill? So if you had to make a drawing of a person, place, or thing in under 2 minutes, do you think you could do it? How? Today, we are going to learn to draw portraits using a technique called blind contour line drawing. And once you know how it's done, you'll be able to draw anything you want to using this method of quick sketching. Blind contour line drawing is a technique that allows you to draw rough outlines of objects very quickly, usually in 2 minutes or less. Because of how they are drawn, blind contour line drawings often look very unrealistic, maybe even unrecognizable. So don't be surprised if your portrait turns out looking a little weird, scary, or silly. That's actually part of the fun. On my easel today, I have 2 paintings that were started in 2018 and 2019 respectively. I considered them finished paintings then, but I was never truly happy with the end result of either. The cool thing about acrylic paintings is that you can go back into them years later to either reclaim the canvases and start anew, or to touch up something in an existing painting. That's what I'm going to be doing today. I'm planning to change the color scheme in these 2 paintings, but we'll talk more about colors later on. These 2 paintings and the musical instrument paintings that you see behind me all started with a blind contour line drawing in black oil pastel. These paintings all look fairly abstract. So what is abstract art? Abstract art is artwork that does not look very realistic. Oftentimes it doesn't resemble much of anything beyond colors, shapes, and lines. Abstract artwork is meant to be expressive. Sometimes the artists will use symbols to depict history, present-day events, or even people. While there are many styles and forms of abstract art today, the art form itself has not been around for very long. One of the first artists to pioneer and perfect his abstract art was Pablo Picasso, the inventor of Cubism. I bet you've probably heard of Pablo Picasso. He was a Spanish artist who spent much of his life in France. He was born in 1881 and died in 1973, so not that long ago. By age 15, he was already very good at creating realistic portraits, but he didn't really like painting in that style. So by the time Picasso was in his early 20s, he no longer painted in the classical ways. Picasso started experimenting in different styles of painting using bold lines and limited colors, sometimes only shades of red or blue paired with black line work. Eventually, he pioneered his own distinct style that became very popular. Cubism, a style of abstract painting that breaks forms into basic geometric or organic shapes. He painted mostly portraits, like this one, and his portraits often featured mismatched facial features, repeating patterns and unnatural colors, and oftentimes it appeared as if we were seeing 2 or 3 angles of the face at one time. His artwork employed bold colors, lines, and patterns to set the mood and tone of the piece. Though his paintings look very bright and colorful, he used a fairly limited color palette, selecting 3 or 4 main colors and then mixing different shades and tints with black and white. He would fill in each geometric space with one of the colors or a gradient of the color, and sometimes he used a similar pattern throughout the piece to keep the eye moving. In this painting, Picasso continues the plaid up from the shirt into the nose and forehead. Though Picasso likely had his own unique way of seeing and creating each piece, we too can create abstract artwork that looks much like Cubism by using blind contour line drawing. Here are some of my early blind contour line drawings, similar to what you might create today. But please keep in mind, these were not created on my first try. I have been drawing blind contour portraits for several weeks before these landscapes, and this portrait was probably my 9th or 10th portrait. Today, we are going to be making Cubist-inspired portraits using the blind contour line drawing technique. First, we should gather some supplies. To get started today, you will need 2 black markers. I like the fine tip Sharpies, but any black markers will do. You'll need at least 2 sheets of drawing paper, either 8.5 by 11 inches or 9 by 12 inches, and construction paper, computer typing paper, or really any other kind of white paper will work just fine today. You'll need markers, colored markers, to add lines, details, and patterns to your drawings. Lastly, you'll want to grab colored pencils or crayons, or both if you have them, because we're not going to do any coloring with marker today. Now, there are 2 rules to blind contour line drawing. Number 1, the blind in blind contour means we don't look down at our paper at all when we draw. We never look down. You look at your friend, your teacher, or me for the entire time that you're drawing. This can be kind of tough to do as we're usually used to looking at what we draw, so we don't make mistakes. Today, if you catch yourself looking down, look up right away and then continue drawing. Number 2, contour drawing means continuous line. So we are going to create our portrait today using one continuous line throughout the whole drawing. This means that you will have a line connecting your eyes to your nose and your nose to your mouth to your chin, etc. But this is what we want. We want our faces to be broken up into several shapes that we could add color to later. Maybe one eye might wind up on top of an ear, but this is what we want as well. The sillier that these drawings look, the better. So I'm going to show you a fast example of how this will work. I'm going to look at my friend Neko, who is sitting across from me in my art studio.
Hi everybody.
He's an artist too. He mainly works in spray paint, clay, and acrylic painting. So this is Neko's first time doing a blind contour line drawing as well. So he's a true beginner at this style, just like you are. A few tips before we begin. Try to draw your portrait so that it takes up most of the page. Try to draw more than just a floating head, so include the neck and the shoulders and the chest until you reach the bottom of your page. If you're drawing with a Sharpie, you might want to put a larger sheet of paper underneath your drawing so that if you go off of your page, it doesn't leave marks on your table. If you do accidentally get marks on your table with a Sharpie, bug spray will usually remove Sharpie very easily, so pro tip. You want to start your drawing with a middle feature like the nose or the eyes, and then work your way to ears, mouth, neck, head, hair. And then lastly, when you're drawing the hair, try to make the basic outline of the shape of the hair and not single strands. We don't want scribbly individual strands because we want to be able to color in these drawings. So Neko and I will be looking at each other for the entire 2 minutes that we draw. When I start the timer, we'll put our markers down on our page and not pick them up again until the 2 minutes are up. Or if we think we've finished our drawing early, we can stop then. So we want to have paper turned vertically, so you can go ahead and grab a sheet of paper. All right, so I'm going to start my timer, and when the timer goes off, we stop. On your marks, get set, draw.
Oh boy. Okay.
It's been a while since I've done one of these too.
Okay.
So.
All right.
It's like a staring contest.
Here. And I think down to here. Kind of here. And then we're gonna go down to here sometimes. Oh man. I'm really sorry about this.
That's okay. It's what everybody says.
And then I think I'll just go down to here and then circle it through the hair. Bring it down to the jawline. I didn't give you eyebrows, so I'll do that.
Okay.
I don't know where to go now.
Well, maybe you did everything. No, you can do the neck and
Okay,
try to get like shoulders down there.
Down to here. I don't know if I'm even on the paper anymore.
Usually you can kind of feel it when you go off. I can see it and you are, so.
Okay, good.
Timer, do the thing. 30 seconds left. But I'm almost done too, and I might
think I'm gonna be
Yeah,
done.
you can stop whenever you're done. Okay. You can show each other your portraits. Hopefully you'll have a few laughs. If you didn't pick up your marker and you didn't look down, your drawing should look something like this. With some extra lines breaking up the face and the head, with facial features scattered in strange places. Let's show this computer.
Really?
However, if your drawing looks like this, it will be easy to tell if you look down at your drawing and picked up your marker, because it will look a little too realistic, and you can see there are spaces between the eyes and the nose and the mouth, meaning that we didn't draw one continuous line throughout the entire drawing. Now it's your turn. Work with your paper turned vertically to give yourself maximum space to draw large. Once you place your marker on the page when you begin, gaze at the person that you are drawing for the entire time that you draw. Everyone should be drawing at the same time. You'll be drawing someone else, and someone different might be drawing you. You don't necessarily need to work as pairs. You can draw anyone that you see, but keep looking at them for the entire time that you draw. And remember to try and include more than just the face and head. Look at how the neck and shoulders are posed. Draw until your marker hits the bottom of the page. If you go off the page, just place your marker back on the page again. You can look to see where you're placing it, but after that, make sure you look up right away. I will set the timer on my phone for 2 minutes. On your marks, get set, draw. Remember, you can draw me if you want to. I'll try to sit still for the duration of the pose, but as we learned earlier, people move around about every 6 seconds. We might move our hands, our lips, shift our body weight slightly. It's kind of hard to sit perfectly still for 2 full minutes. But remember, our friend Picasso oftentimes drew his portraits with his subjects appearing to be facing multiple directions in one painting. So if I turn my head to the side, Perhaps you'll have a chance to draw one of my eyes or my nose. We have about 45 seconds to work now. Remember, if you feel like you're finished, you can stop a little bit early. And stop. Okay, you can look down at your drawing. How does it look? Does it look pretty strange or scary? It might have turned out looking more like an alien or a monster than your friend. But that's okay, these are supposed to look strange. Remember, these are abstract pieces, not real life. Now, I want you to grab a second sheet of paper and think of your favorite place, any place that you love to go. It could be a vacation to Hawaii, or maybe it's the cafe that you eat at for special occasions. Maybe it's grandma's house. I want you to envision this place, close your eyes, and focus on the memory of this place for the entire 2 minutes that we draw. Try to capture the feelings that it conveys. Draw the things that are important to you and leave out things that don't really mean as much. I'm going to draw with you today, and I believe I'm going to draw one of my favorite places in North Dakota. I'm going to draw Roosevelt National Park on the drive to Watford City, where I got to paint a mural last summer. All right, I'm going to set my timer. On your marks, get set, draw. And stop. Hey, I kind of like my little drawing. How did yours turn out? What I like about this drawing is that it's going to be very easy to color. I've left a lot of big spaces along with some little spaces to break up these big chunks of land. I would say that my drawing somewhat resembles Roosevelt National Park, but it definitely has a lot of abstraction. We can probably identify the road in the foreground. The oil wells on top of the Badlands are fairly easy to make out, but there still are a great deal of abstract elements to this piece. And notice how I accidentally went off my paper when I was drawing. So it's a good thing I put this layer of brown paper down to protect my table. So do you think that your picture conveys the place that you were thinking of? Or is it very abstracted? So now that we have two lovely blank contour drawings to choose from, we can pick the one that we would like to add color to today. You're probably not going to finish during class, but you'll get a good start and you'll know the techniques that you should use to finish up your drawing when you get home or during free time in school. I usually try to pick a drawing that has interesting positive and negative space, a lot of larger shapes that will be fairly easy to color or add patterns to, along with some smaller shapes just for contrast. When you're choosing colors, I want you to think about how Picasso chose just a few colors to work with for each picture. I want you to choose one dominant color, the main color, from your marker box. I'm going to go with purple. Then you can find 2 or 3 similar colors in your crayon box and your colored pencil box if you have both. Like maybe, I like this medium blue. I think this might be blue violet. And from my crayons, I'm gonna go with pink. Ooh, magenta. If I'm coloring my Badlands piece, I should maybe even grab a green so I can add a few tree leaves and some grass for the buffalo and the cattle to graze. They're all basically within the same color range, except for the green. You should also think about the tone that you want to set with the piece. If you want your picture to seem cold or sad, you should maybe think about using blues. If you want your character to have an angry tone, or ironically enough, a loving persona, you might choose reds and oranges or reds and pink. Green is often seen as the symbol of illness or jealousy or grossness, while purple is usually considered to be fairly calming. Start by adding patterns to some of the shapes in your composition using your markers. It's best to stick with simple line designs and geometric shapes, patterns that can be easily repeated throughout the entire composition. Don't color with your markers, as markers will leave lots of streaks in your design. It's best to color with crayon or colored pencil, as you can get several different tones using just one color. You can also create gradients using crayon and color pencil, but use your marker first. Do all of your marker work first, because markers do not like to color over the top of crayon and color pencil. In fact, you will ruin your marker if you try to color over crayon with marker. I've decided that I don't think I'm going to use pink on this one after all, but I am going to use that reddish orange that I grabbed. I like to use both crayon and colored pencil in my designs. Colored pencil works great for adding additional line detail, while crayon is good for adding different textures and for coloring in larger areas. I'm going to test out my purple on the back of this drawing that I may not use. Ooh, that's black. Good thing I checked. This must be purple. No, that's also black. Oh my. Good thing I tested it out. That's purple. So even though the crayon is a similar color to what I've used before, it has a whole different look when it's laid down on paper. The texture will be different. The size of the stroke will be a lot wider than a colored pencil. It's harder to control in smaller spaces. And now that I have crayon on this page, I'm going to have to be careful not to go over any of the waxy crayon with my marker, or I'll ruin the tip. By the time I get to crayon, I usually have a lot of my paper covered already. Definitely want to take care of that detail stuff before I get to crayon. You can overlap different colors using crayon and colored pencil to add just a little bit more to your design. For instance, if you have a shade of green on your paper already, you could color lightly over the top with blue or with yellow to create areas of contrast within a shape. Okay, so this is where I'm going to stop for today. Sometimes I like to just take a little break and maybe come back to it tomorrow, see if I think it needs anything else. I like to leave some white space in these blind contour drawings because it gives our eye a little break, a place to rest. One thing that I really like to do with my blind contour drawings is make copies of them before I add any color to the original piece. I actually got started coloring a couple of the blind contours of Neko earlier today. I created a second drawing of Neko while he was here, and I wound up really loving the shapes in this drawing, so that's the one I decided to color for you. My marker work is done. Here's where we're at with young Neko. I really like these big circular shapes. His face is almost a complete circle, and I love those half circles that are going around the top. This is a good composition. Right now I'm using this peach color, covering up some of this seafoam green line that I made with my marker, but not all of it. I do want it to show. It makes a really good shadow color. Blue and orange are contrasting colors, so if I put them close together, they're going to stand out from one another. This peach color and the seafoam green are contrasting as well. So if I color over seafoam with peach, I get a very subtle brown. Oh good, the cat is here. I'm actually going to pull this peach color into other sections of the drawing as well. Continuing your colors throughout the whole design helps the piece look more consistent. It will also help to guide the viewer's eye throughout the entire composition. Another important thing that I'm doing is I'm coloring in the direction of the shape. Sometimes I might be coloring kind of a curve, and then other shapes might be a diagonal or perfectly straight. And you want to be careful when you're coloring up against the edges of the page so that you don't accidentally wrinkle your paper. I'm working really lightly now, so you barely see this. I am coloring over some of my Sharpie lines right now, and some of them I'm going to want to see again, so I'll just bring them back in. I can do Sharpie over colored pencil. It's not great for the Sharpie, but it usually works pretty well. Notice that crayon and colored pencil get quite shiny, maybe shinier than your markers. So if that bothers you, you could either put this behind glass and you'll get more of a consistent sheen. I'm gonna try spraying mine with a matte acrylic sealer. So this is my finished piece of young Neko. Does not look like Neko. Once again, I use mostly the colors seafoam green and peach, and some lighter and darker blues in there, then later pink and red, some orange as well. And then I went over some areas with white colored pencil or white crayon to bring back highlights that I'd lost. And if I were going to color the background, I would probably go with gray and seafoam. I may color the background, but for right now, I'm going to call this one done. Let's go back to the first two paintings that I showed you at the beginning of our lesson. Now that you know a little bit about Cubism and Picasso's color schemes, can you see why I'm unhappy with these pieces? I can't find a dominant color in either of these portraits. I feel like they're competing between warm and cool colors. So I'm going to go in and correct some of these problems. In this one, I'm going to paint a lot more red in some of the white spaces in the background and balance out his face with either more blues or more flesh tones. In this piece, we really see a battle between warm and cool colors. I didn't want it to be this warm, so I'm going to go in with a lot more blues, blue-greens, even blacks and grays, and try to eliminate some of the red, orange, and pink in the face. I do like the background a lot, so I may keep some of the yellows in this painting. Thank you so much for tuning into my art lesson today. I hope you had a lot of fun making your blind contour line drawing. I know I'll be making a lot more of these in the coming days because once again, I'm totally hooked. Stay tuned to my Sketching Spot channel on YouTube for more tutorials like this one. And a special thank you to the North Dakota Council on the Arts and the Northeast Education Services Cooperative for sponsoring this video and for bringing artists like me into the schools. Keep making art, you guys. Cheers.